Tonight, we search for spirits in a haunted party shop.
To get this very clear response was just mind-blowing.
An apparently evil entity terrorizes a home.
When he is here, he likes to let you know he's here.
And we investigate an unusual creature spotted in a Canadian forest.
This is the stuff that horror movies are made out of.
To sort fact from fiction, we've brought together an expert panel of psychologists.
I like to observe people's behavior.
I'm very interested in how perception and memory work.
And some of the most experienced investigators from the paranormal world.
I would love to find out what it's like on the other side.
I am on the lookout for undeniable proof.
All hoping to see the paranormal captured on camera.
Oh gosh, why am I worried?
Reports of paranormal incidents have been documented across every continent on the planet, with occurrences happening daily. In San Carlos City, in 2018, residents living near a grocery store began to be concerned by sightings of an unusual entity in the area. Store owner Mr. Forto was compelled to check his CCTV. The footage he stumbled across left him baffled and scared.
Oh, there's a shadow figure. Cool.
That's interesting.
What's interesting though is the way it moves across camera.
I'd want to see that from many different angles, not just one.
Doesn't really look like a smudge on the lens situation because it was moving around quite weirdly.
I think that it's a shadow of someone, and it's got this really misty sort of outline to it. It's actually rare that you can get full manifestations. If this was a common thing, then it'd be happening all the time, wouldn't it?
Paranormal activity can occur at any time and in any location, and can often be terrifying for those who experience it. In Leicester, in the UK, mother of three, Gaynor, knows firsthand how frightening the paranormal can be. And it all began 39 years ago when she first moved into her home.
I didn't know any history about the house. To me, it was just, an home to move in. That was it, really. I hadn't been round to look at the house. I just got the keys off the council and started moving straight in. Then I brought my dog in. In this corner, my dog come running in and he was growling and snoring. I knew the way the dog were acting, there was something here. So I looked up in the corner and said, "Could you leave, please?" I didn't really feel much at the time because I was too busy trying to move in, about 5 months pregnant at the time. It was sort of in the back of my mind thinking, oh, I've got something here.
As Gaynor and her animals became settled in the house, activity began to escalate.
Over the years, little things were moving and coming back, or it'd move and then disappear for a few days and then come back. And as my sons were getting older, the oldest one was starting to see black shadows upstairs on the landing. There were a cold spot on the stairs. It was freezing cold. Whereas if you stood up the one below or the one above, which was normal, but stood on that middle one, it was absolutely freezing.
With something unexplainable happening in the house, could Gaynor's dogs have seen whatever was responsible?
Dogs will hear frequencies much lower than the human ear can hear. Are they picking up on the presence of the spirit in the house? I think they could absolutely do that.
Their sense of smell, their sense of sight is a lot better than ours. And I do believe that they can sense the paranormal.
I do think it's reasonable to say that maybe the dog was sensing something that we couldn't sense. The question of what that is and is that supernatural is, I think, an entirely separate question.
Soon, however, the activity began to escalate. It felt like something, or someone, wanted to be noticed.
The fire alarm started going off upstairs in one of the bedrooms. I thought, what the hell's that at the time? So I ran upstairs and the curtains were on fire in the bedroom. So we just ripped them down and put them out. I had a buffet that went on fire. The furniture, it'd be on fire and there'd be round holes in your settee, like. And then that's when I started placing buckets of water around the house.
Right, combustion.
I would love to know when this started. Has this always happened in the house? Have previous tenants ever experienced anything like this in the past?
Her belief is so strong that she's absolutely convinced that there is definitely some kind of paranormal activity, and therefore, in order to combat that, she has buckets of water instead of looking at physical explanations for what it could be instead.
For things to be physically set alight in a house is really an interesting case. What's interesting though, it's the places that the fires are happening.
I don't have a rational explanation for that. It's really interesting though, and also one of the traits of a poltergeist is being able to set things on fire.
That's life-threatening. That is life-threatening.
Whether you're a believer or a skeptic, the tradition of telling ghost stories is something that is passed down from generation to generation. But with some locations, it's almost impossible to distinguish between folklore and fact. In Mold, North Wales, the haunting of a 17th century building has become ingrained in the town's history. After 7 years, former skeptic and shop owner Katie is convinced she's experienced paranormal activity.
I started believing when I first took over the shop. I'd locked the shop floor door and me and my mum were in the cellar. We were standing at the bottom of the steps and I was telling the story of Sarah the ghost. I've always known about the history of Sarah. They cover it in the schools around Mold, and the previous owner, she told us a few stories. And when I was telling her the story, we heard steps above us. My mum heard it as well, and she's quite sceptical. She says, oh, there's somebody in the shop. So I ran up thinking it was a customer, but the door was still locked and there was nobody there. Since I moved into the shop, I've had so many unexplainable encounters.
One notable feature of the shop is a well in the cellar, which has since been filled with concrete. And according to unsubstantiated reports, 50 years ago, the well revealed a gruesome secret.
Allegedly, in the 1960s, they found the bones of Sarah. Well, they found the bones of a girl in the well.
So she went in with the preconception that there was a ghost called Sarah. Anything that's steeped in history, the ghost stories come with that package. On saying that, I am not ruling out any paranormal activity in that location, because as living beings, we have this energy that I just don't believe just ends and that's the end of your life, it's over.
Shop worker Lauren has also experienced activity. One day, when she was feeling unwell, she closed the shop and had an unusual encounter.
I sat on the stairs, I was crying, and all of a sudden, I felt this coldness all on this side of my body. Instead of feeling scared, I felt comforted, and I could assume that it could have been Sarah just trying to make me feel better by giving me a hug, I don't know, and that's what it could have been.
She definitely had an experience, and you can't take that away from her. It could have been Sarah. It could have been somebody else trying to comfort her as well.
It could be that it is more of a mental thing. It could be that you want somebody in that moment to comfort you and you don't want to feel alone.
I myself have had similar experiences out on location where I've had something brush my face and I've felt something, touched my shoulder, and so it's unexplainable. So only she would actually really, truly, personally know what she went through.
7 years since moving in, Katie has decided to move on. After selling off the party shop stock, she decided to document her last days in the historic building.
We cleared out the attic. The next day, I thought, oh, I'm going to go up in the attic and just get a film, one last film of it, just to take away. And when I was filming, I saw little things of light shooting across the screen. I was quite surprised, really, because I've gone in the attic, I've filmed before, and I've never captured anything like that before.
I personally am not a believer in orbs. I'm a believer in light anomalies. It's something that changes shape. It's something that can grow in size, move in different ways, suddenly come across the screen, then move into a different direction, but not an orb or a ball of light.
I know there's a lot of stigma attached with these orb sightings. I say that very carefully because I have actually myself on video, I said, can you please show yourself and can you please come across from the right-hand side down to my left side? And this all just came in like this, straight across down to my left side. So I said, do that again, but this time come from that side, from my left side to my right side. And the orb comes in from the left, straight across through to the right. If that's intelligent dust, you know, or is it actually some physical entity using light energy?
I've had pictures that I would swear was something other than dust, and I've had a seasoned investigator say, nope, it's dust, but I swear it's not. Who's to say it is? It's really, really hard to tell.
With the shop up for sale, Katie is more determined than ever to capture definitive proof.
It's important to get some evidence of these spirits. One for me, just to show that I'm not just the mad lady in the party shop. Also, just to keep the legacy alive, really, keep the history alive of the building, because the people of Mould are so interested in it.
With only days to spare before Katie moves out, we've sent paranormal investigator Lee Roberts to the party shop to investigate one last time.
Hello.
Hiya.
I'm Lee.
Oh, hiya, I'm Katie.
Do you want to show me around? Have a look?
Yeah, that'd be great. Let's get started. It's just this way.
Katie is hoping Lee and his equipment will be able to interact with the ghost of the young girl she has experienced.
Sarah used to be a lot more active when she got disturbed. You should get some good activity tonight because everything's changing, really, and she doesn't like change.
A paranormal event might only be seen in the blink of an eye or in the peripheries of your vision, leading a potential witness to dismiss the activity without a second thought. But if you happen to hit record on your camera at the right time, that moment is captured forever. In 2014, in an underground train station in London, England, a passenger suddenly noticed movement in the tunnel. Believing it to be a bird, they began filming on their mobile phone. Upon reviewing the footage, though, something more sinister can be seen.
Naughty words.
Yeah, that's one of the more interesting clips I've seen. The skeptic within me says that's a person. It can be very eerie down there, definitely. Could there just be a trick of light?
I don't have the full picture, I just have a picture. So if I am a believer, I will get one picture and I will get one narrative and I will go with one set of beliefs. If I'm a skeptic, I'll get another picture and want to investigate it further, revisit it and test it.
While it's clear that what was seen was not a bird, could this shadowy figure be an echo from the past?
I would hope there was a rational explanation for that down in the tube tunnels. It is interesting footage though, definitely, and it'd be one that I'd be interested in investigating, definitely.
While some people might not want to accept the existence of the paranormal, others have no choice but to confront this reality. In Leicester, in the UK, animal lover Gaynor believes her house is plagued by paranormal activity, and what had started as harmless incidents soon escalated into life-threatening episodes. But the fires weren't the only troubling development in the house.
This is our bedroom. As soon as we get into bed and just about to fall asleep, it started hitting us. From beneath, like it coming through the mattress, from the sides. It won't let you go to sleep, just wear you out. And when it's going on for 8-10 months, it's getting pretty tiring, you know. It wears you down.
Sleep paralysis can happen to a significant portion of the population. People will wake up in the middle of the night with a sense of pressure, and they're unable to move, and it feels like something's holding them. You've got that tactile experience as real as the things that you experience on a day-to-day, and that can be very terrifying.
Determined to find out what is causing the activity in her home, over the years, Gaynor has invited teams of investigators to the house.
One paranormal investigator came round who says that he could feel a porthole here. So they rigged the camera up. This camera took so many photos a second. I was really surprised what they caught.
Oh, wow. I don't even know what to, that's just kind of very odd. Trying to look at it from a scientific point of view or trying to debunk it and say, oh, it could be this. It doesn't look like anything, just some weird smoke.
That's actually pretty impressive. During investigations, people have captured all sorts of mists and anomalies and that sort of thing, but I've not ever actually seen one quite like that.
As soon as I seen it, I believed that was the bad spirit. I don't think he's here all the time. He comes and goes when he wants. But when he is here, he likes to let you know he's here. You just get used to it. Plenty of times I've been terrified and run out the house. I don't think I'd be able to get rid of it. And actually, I wouldn't want to get rid of it. To me, it's its home as well as my home. As long as it don't start hitting me again or setting fire to my house. It sounds really, really nuts, and I wouldn't believe you yourself if you came out with it. But it did happen. You know, everything I've said, you know, it's happened, it's all happened.
You can be a healthy, sober, entirely sane person, and yet you can experience this extremely unreasonable thing, but be an entirely reasonable person. And a lot of this stuff is down to interpretation if you don't have access to the explanation.
I've dealt with a similar case, just not with fire. I deemed it as demonic activity. I can't sit here and say that it's not possible that there is a demonic entity haunting that house. I would love to investigate it myself to find out more.
In popular culture, malevolent spirits are well documented, but in reality, most mean no harm to those who are living. In Mould, in the UK, paranormal investigator Lee and shop owner Katie are setting up some equipment in the cellar in the hopes of making contact with a spirit called Sarah.
So we're going to start down on this level. I think we'll start the investigation low. So this is the lowest point of the building. So what I'm going to do to start with is just use this bit of kit. It's called a REM pod, and it reacts to static energy. So anybody that goes close to it gives up any static energy. Turn it on, and then if anything goes near it, the lights will go off. We'll place it on the floor, just above the well. We'll set it off. And then if I can just ask you just to move so you're a metre away from it, so it's nice and set.
Interesting putting the REM pod above where the well was.
In the paranormal field, we have discovered that when you have running water or any form of a water source, you tend to have more activity. And it could be because the flowing water, it tends to create more energy, which they can use to manifest. Spirits will draw energy from anywhere they can get it. But if there's a natural source of energy, it's pretty much just like a big battery pack for them.
With the REM pod set, Lee and Katie move into the room next door, and Lee introduces a trigger object.
The theory of it is we get any object and then we can ask out for spirits to come and move for us in any way they can. Now, if they can pick it up, fantastic, that'd be amazing. But all we're asking for is just a slight movement anyway. And I find we get a lot better response when it is something attached to the building rather than a foreign object that I've brought in or somebody else.
Lee decides to use a balloon from the party shop and a machine called a K2 meter that detects electromagnetic changes. Will this entice Sarah to come and play?
You've got the K2 meter in your hand. Mm-hmm. Also, hold the balloon in your hand. And let's go down. So, Sarah, if you are here, you want to come and take this balloon off of Katie for us? Come and see if you can grab the balloon for us.
Come on, Sarah, you can have the balloon. I'm not going to hurt you. Go on, pull it out of I've just got my thumb on it. I just don't want to let it go because it'll go on the ceiling. Go on, you can pull it. Go on, that's it.
It's really strange that you're holding it as steady as you can. I can see you trying.
Yeah.
You can almost see it, almost kind of as if someone's tugging at it. It's very, very slight. A lot of people that were doing this experiment were going, there's nobody there because the lights aren't going. It could be that it's not electrical energy that they're giving off. It's not like a K2 meter can pick up on it.
You see the same principle with Ouija boards. It's something that psychologists will call an ideomotor effect, where you can have people that are making motor actions that they are themselves not aware of. It's a bit tricky to get your head around. It's one of those things that are deeply counterintuitive. This idea that you could be moving, in this case, your hands. Those motor signals are coming from you, but you're not aware that they're coming from you. So effectively what's happening is you're interpreting an internal agency as being an external force.
I do find on investigations, when you are speaking about them, it kind of piques their interest. Whereas other times you'll have spirits that don't want anything to do with you. The moment you have investigators go in, it goes completely flat. Because they're sick and tired of people there all the time going, what's your name? How old are you? How long have you been here? Do you know that you've died? Worst question ever.
In the search for more substantial evidence and to encourage any spirits to interact with his equipment, Lee plunges the room into darkness.
Okay, Sarah, if you are here, really, really good. Straight away, fantastic. Thank you, Sarah, that's amazing. So if that is you, Sarah, take it right up to red for us again.
I love using a K2, but wondering, does somebody have their mobile on? Because mobile will make the lights light up. Not like that typically. It'll be very fast and furious on that. So that looks fine there.
I was quite impressed with that. You're asking it to spike to red, and then it's going to red. That is pretty compelling evidence that obviously something's happening.
Sarah, are you still here with us? Or is it somebody else that's here wanting to talk to us? If there is somebody here, we want to speak to you.
Only 1 hour into the investigation, could the spirit of Sarah already be making contact from beyond the grave? Or could it be someone or something else? The paranormal is defined as something beyond normal explanation. In Canada in 2018, a drive through the forests of Quebec was made even more memorable when something unexpected was discovered on holiday footage. A group of friends stopped to admire and film a moose grazing by the side of the road. Only later did they realize the moose wasn't the only attraction.
Oh man, it's very cool.
Oh, wow. That's a little creepy. I mean, I'd love to capture that on camera myself. It's really tough to believe anything on the internet. However, I mean, it doesn't make it any less creepy.
I mean, this is the stuff that horror movies are made out of, isn't it? It is always dark, it's the woods, there's something sinister going on. Off we go. But actually, it's probably just light playing tricks on the brain.
It really does intrigue me, and I do believe there's actually creatures out there that will think they're something they're not. But I think that one's something on the windscreen.
Any paranormal experience is open to interpretation, but if more than one person can corroborate the activity, the evidence holds more weight. In Derby, in the UK, an unassuming house appears to be the focal point for paranormal activity that the whole family has witnessed.
I didn't know anything about the property when I first moved in. It was just a nice, quiet area. It wasn't straight away when things started happening, kind of progressed.
Kimberly started to hear footsteps upstairs when the children were in bed.
I used to go up and check if it was them walking around and they were fast asleep. And that was all really that I used to experience. And then as soon as I met Mart, things started happening more.
Kimberly didn't tell her new partner Mart about what she'd experienced, but it wasn't long before he had his first encounter.
We were both sat downstairs watching a film, and I could hear walking around, footsteps upstairs. And at first, I didn't think anything of it, but then something went off in my head thinking, the children aren't here tonight, who's upstairs? And I looked at Kimberly and thought, there's walking around upstairs, can you hear that? And she looked at me and she says, that happens quite often.
Sometimes we all hear a phantom knock on the door or running up the stairs because we've heard it so frequently, we're so used to that, that sometimes we can play that out as if it's happening, but it's just your brain, saying this is what normally happens.
Over time, the activity became increasingly frequent.
Me and my children were downstairs and we heard my daughter's guitar playing by herself.
Toys started to go off on their own.
It's drawn to the kids' toys. It's interacting with the toys. It seems to be in the kids' rooms. It's playing the guitar. That's the kind of activity you would expect from a haunting that's a child.
There's a belief that spirit entities are attracted to the energy of children because they're so full of life. You've heard of stories of kids having imaginary friends, seeing things. There are stories where entities imitate children to get your attention. And then once they're in, that's when the real trouble starts.
One day when Mart was away, Kim and the kids had their first eyewitness experience.
It was at that period where everything was happening in this house. It was just before bedtime, and me and my 4 children were all in my daughter's room together. And me and my daughter were at the end of her bed, closest to the landing. And we were chatting away, the boys were playing. My son's bedroom was on the other side of the landing. My son had a cushion on his bed and it got thrown across the landing and landed near me and my daughter. It was amazing to see, a little bit scary, but it was amazing really. There was no explanation for it really, because me, my daughter and my 3 boys were all in this room together, so it couldn't have been any of my children that did it.
Something falls off a shelf or you see something roll across the floor. If you have that way of thinking, you think, well, that must mean that there is some kind of paranormal activity attached to that, rather than thinking that's a coincidence or the window's open and a gust of wind blew something across the floor. Some people are primed to believe that way, and if that's the way your mind works, that is the meaning you're going to give that event.
Cushion throwing. I think I'd be a little bit worried, wouldn't you?
While certain locations can be unlikely places for paranormal activity, when a building has been in existence for 400 years, the likelihood increases dramatically. In Mould, in the UK, the investigation of the 17th century party shop continues. It already seems a spirit has attempted to make contact via an electromagnetic detector. So Lee moves the investigation upstairs and introduces a high-tech piece of kit that allows spirits to communicate.
So what I thought we would do is, up here, is do something a little bit more vocal. So what we're going to use is what's called a PSB-7.
Spirit box. My favourite piece of equipment.
What it's designed to do is to scan the radio waves in reverse. So it's going everything back very, very quickly. So I'll set it to do around 9 channels per second. And what we're wanting is for full words to come out. So hello, or a name, or some information. What we do is we'll turn it on. Okay, if there is anybody here, my name's Lee, Sarah, or anybody else that's here. I'm here, Lee, and Kate is here. Can you come and say hello for us?
Hello, Katie.
Hello, Katie. Straight away, hello, Katie.
I could hear that too.
See, that is really interesting because the voice that comes through is coming through over several sweeps, and it is the same voice. It's not particularly a clear response, but it does tell me that there is something trying to communicate with them.
To hear a complete word, or even better, a complete sentence, that's not explainable.
Can you give me your name?
Henry.
A name. So that's I think, very compelling.
Potentially what's happening here is if we're going to be like an objective test, we're going to say like, I want to get the name Sarah from the equipment. Then getting the name Henry is a failure. But then saying that, oh, there's another entity here named Henry turns what would otherwise have been a miss into a new and exciting piece of evidence.
When you're on a case, you get excited. It's understandable. You want to hear things. But Henry, that was clear. If I had actually heard that name and I'd asked the question, can you say your name? And you get Henry, that's a pretty compelling piece of evidence to have.
Hello. Do you know me?
I know you. Did you know Katie when you was living? When you was alive, did you? I did.
The fact that it was somebody named Henry and somebody that she likely knew personally, I think that's fascinating.
It seemed to know the shop owner personally. So it could very well have been somebody that was drawn to her, that comes in with her, rather than the location itself.
Was that somebody trying to get in touch with us that knew Katie, that knew of the shop, that was fairly recent? We was expecting to be investigating Sarah. So that's really thrown a spanner in the works and shook myself and Katie up.
The paranormal world is an ever-growing community of people, all with one aim: capturing evidence and proof of its existence. In an undisclosed location in America, after seeing strange shadows and furniture moving, the homeowners called in a team of paranormal investigators to help solve the mystery. On day 16 of the investigation, at 12:44 a.m., this footage was captured on an infrared camera.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, what I think's going on there is your very old school case of fishing line.
I really want to believe that's real.
Skeptics will claim string, fishing wire and all that sort of stuff. I would imagine if it was to be pulled out by a string, it would just come out and fall down. But this seems to have, the projectile seems to be going up and out, which looks to me like there's a force behind it somehow.
I don't know what to make of that because I can't see the other side of it. So because I've got missing information. I don't know.
If it is paranormal, if it is actually real, that's a great capture on camera. Fantastic.
While some people fear the paranormal, others welcome activity. In Derby, in England, Kimberly and Mart believe their home is haunted by playful spirits.
I've experienced and heard and seen a lot of things happen in this house.
Things started with bangs and thuds, and then it's progressed to things being thrown and moving and actual running around rather than just walking. And I think if it carries on the way it is, maybe they'll show themselves to us.
Now convinced they were not alone, Kimberly and Mart called in the help of paranormal investigators.
We were all sat in this room and they all had their equipment ready and nothing really was happening. Then all of a sudden everything started going crazy.
Not you.
Oh, there you go. Thank you very much.
Well done, thank you.
Thank you.
The flashing bulbs were all going off. We had a toy that was constantly going off.
You get that, Mark, yeah?
Yeah.
Up here.
Hey up.
Up here. On that
Whoa,
one.
shh.
What's the lamb?
Just gone off.
It's
It's the lamb.
I was going to say, is it the lamb or the
The
cat?
lamb,
It's
the
one of them,
lamb
isn't
is
it?
the lamb in
Yeah.
the corner.
No one's touched anything.
No.
It's a tractor.
Oh, yeah.
It's got all different animal noises.
It's not voice activated. There's 4 buttons on there that actually have to be pressed. You can't nudge it or anything, and the same goes for the flashing bulb.
I would have been in my element sitting there. I love this piece of footage. The hairs on the back of my neck would have stood up. That would have got my attention, definitely.
Toys going off and everything. Yeah, it was the first time that it was so intense. But we didn't think it would be as active as it was. It was shocking.
It was like they were putting on a show for us that night.
It's going crackers. Everything went crazy and then it all stopped.
Could there be logical explanations for a few of the things that they've experienced? Absolutely. The pillow that they thought they saw fly out of the room, so I'm not really convinced that that's paranormal. However, it seems to be that there is a spirit of a child that's drawn to the toys and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I would say they are dealing with a haunting.
You're guaranteed to hear something in this house most nights. And there never seems to be an explanation for them.
It isn't malicious and it isn't frightening because that's not the spirits that we have here. But you are guaranteed for something to happen.
In Mould in the UK, while paranormal investigator Lee and shop owner Katie were attempting to make contact with the spirit of a little girl, Sarah, another spirit made itself known.
Henry!
Suddenly, the motion detection equipment that Lee had positioned over the well in the empty cellar leaps into action.
Oh!
The rampart's going off.
The rampart!
Let's go and check out.
Oh my God, can we put the light on? I'm a bit scared. Is Henry down here?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that's showing that it's something around that side of the REM pod, which is really good. And what's fantastic about it, we've been down here for the last hour doing an investigation, and as soon as we go upstairs and got that static energy of the radio, boom, something's there connecting with it.
Can spirits manipulate the electromagnetic fields? Can they affect equipment and that sort of thing? From experience, yes, they can.
After a successful investigation at the party shop, Lee decides to wrap it up for the night.
I think Katie was a little bit nervous before the investigation. And I think as the night went on, as things was happening, you could see that she was shocked with the level of activity that was getting.
You can almost see it, almost kind of as if someone's tugging at it.
She's experienced things herself, and people in the shop have experienced things, but not to the level that we actually got.
When Henry came through, and then when he actually went, the REM pod, it kicked off. And it was as if he'd gone from here down in the cellar and started, you know, playing around with it. Yeah, and it wouldn't stop either. I was a little bit scared, to be honest.
This has been Katie's last night in this historic shop, as she's selling up and moving on, but it's certainly been eventful.
I feel sad. It's a piece of history, and it's a shame because I'm leaving it. But yeah, hopefully the spirits will go on.
I would like to have seen a little bit more with the spirit box because what they did get through, the fact that it was somebody named Henry and somebody that she likely knew personally, that is really interesting. And it kind of takes away possibly that, okay, is it Sarah that's haunting the place? I really like this evidence.
Especially with the history of the location, the age of the location, the fact that there is potentially a well and that water source that, you know, could contribute to any of the activity there. Yes, there could very well be something there.
Whether it's ghosts, aliens, or other paranormal phenomena, as encounters happen across the globe, evidence will continue to be captured by witnesses and investigators. But will it be enough to explain the unexplainable?